Right. Okay. Okay. So as Rinpoche says here, we can take these precepts any time. But their karmic effects are particularly powerful on these very powerful days, such as today. One of the days is today. And what today is these so-called, these holy days, about 4 in the year. See, Tibetans have this lunar calendar, and so they sort of, when they do their calculations, there are certain days when this very potent for just positive for virtuous actions, virtuous practices. So Rinpoche talks about sort of hundreds of millions of times multiplying, on days such as this. And this day, of course, is the day of miracles, which is this particular day in the Buddha in Shravasti in the north of India, when I think people were kind of all the different, because there are plenty of holy beings, so many holy beings around India. The place was full of all these amazing sadhus, incredible beings at that time, I think in our culture, we have no idea how marvelous India was, how extraordinary the philosophy and all that. It's only really since the Buddha that the West is even knowing about the Buddha, knowing about India at all. Extraordinary. Buddha came out of this amazing tradition, and there's all these extraordinary holy beings with great powers and cities. And so I think they started to challenge the Buddha. So he was I think he showed off. He did a big showing off day, showing all these miracles he could do. So they finally realized he was pretty good. Something like that. Okay. So if this were Rinpoche would be telling us, maybe he does in the session, I don't know, I haven't seen it, but Rinpoche would be spending hours and hours talking about the benefits of bodhicitta. Because the particular thing about this practice is it's in character. These are the same vows as the vows in the 3 sets of vows. The first level, the individual liberation, which are the kind of the lowest and middle scope of the Lamrim, or junior school and high school, like I like to call it, or the wisdom wing. There are the vows that help us subdue our own body, speech, and mind, so we can get realizations and eventually liberate from samsara. Then you've got the Mahayana, and then you have the tantric, 3 sets of vows. Well, these vows are they're the same character as the pratimoksha vows, but it's a particular practice within the Mahayana, and apparently, I forget now, it's in the commentary from Rinpoche, it's coming from one of the tantras. So there's something very powerful about this. So for example, monks and nuns, we're the individual liberation vows, but we would not, we would not, you can't renew, you wouldn't take the vows, you wouldn't say renew any individual liberation level like refuge and things, because it's these vows, anyway, I'm sorry, but you can take the Mahayana, these ones, even though the same character, you can take these, and they're for 24 hours. So Rinpoche, when he's writing to prisoners, he says this is the most incredible practice you can do. So many people, you might not, but just to do for 24 hours, living in these vows is said to be so special. And to understand that, we have to understand the power of vows, we're going to be discussing that in our workshop today, but the power, we can't get enlightened without vows, it seems. The Buddha's teaching is very clear. And one of the key reasons is because when we create virtue, when you create any action, when you do any karma, the main factor that determines the power of it is your motivation. Well, most of us don't have very powerful motivation. We don't have realizations of emptiness. We don't have much virtue, much compassion. So the actions we do are fairly weak. But done in the context of living in vows are so powerful, they override even the motivation. That they're in your mind, they're a subtle physical form that's visible to clairvoyance, apparently. And just by living in the vows, 24 hours a day that you're living in a vow not to kill, even when you're not thinking about it, you're ticking over virtuous karmic seeds and you're purifying your mind. Whereas if you don't live in a vow, it's only when you consciously decide not to kill that you put a positive seed in your mind, So it's vows that are so powerful psychologically. When we understand this, we'd feel sad not to have vows, So of course we have to understand it. So be so delighted that we're here together for this morning, doing on this very special day, taking these 8 Mahayana precepts from Lama Zopa Rinpoche. So if he's not your, if you're going to take these, the best attitude to have is that he will become one of your teachers. In other words, he'll become the kind of the Buddha for you. And that makes sense. Why would you take these vows, which are coming from the Buddha? Why would you take them from anybody whom you wouldn't see as a Buddha, It makes it very powerful for us. So if you don't want to see him as your teacher, you don't think like that. Then you just sort of hear the words, but you don't take the vows from Rinpoche. That's your decision. Don't force, don't rush. You can take the vows from another person when you feel like it, but it's nice for us all to be together today. So you be clear in your mind to want to take him as your teacher, So bodhicitta, let's think about what it is for a second. You know, what is bodhicitta? Bodhicitta, awakening thought. It's this outrageous aspiration that is the culmination of developing love and compassion, and particularly great compassion, mahakaruna, this unique characteristic of compassion, unique to the bodhisattva path. It's the one that says it's my job, it's my responsibility to take care of sentient beings. So because of this, there's no way, even if you've achieved your own liberation, there's no way in the universe you could possibly not continue to come back among sentient beings to help them. That's the great compassion component. Compassion is incredible. If you've achieved realization, if you've achieved your own nirvana, you'd have incredible love, incredible compassion. You'd be an astonishing person. But your bliss and your motivation over lifetimes to get out of samsara would override your compassion at the time of your death in that particular life, and you'll zap off into bliss, you know. But if you've got this aspiration, it is my job to benefit sentient beings, I must do it. If I don't do it, who will? This is the attitude of the bodhisattvas. Then of course you're going to continue to be reborn. No choice. There's no choice. It just, your practice compels you to do it. It's spontaneous, you know. So we can't imagine this bodhicitta. I mean, if you try and hear, you listen to the qualities of a person having bodhicitta, and it's almost hard to imagine it's possible. But, you know, according to these teachings, it is. So we aspire. So even if we can't feel compassion for even one person right now, imagine that it's possible to have. And the reason we're taking these vows for the long term, short-term benefit, we're the beneficiaries, you know, living in vows is marvelous. But the reason we're doing long-term is so that it can continue to purify our minds and create virtues so that we can become a Buddha. And the reason, the long-term reason is the suffering of sentient beings. But remember, the only way we're going to see the suffering of other sentient beings is we know our own suffering. We have to know our own suffering first. That's the first stages of the practice. We have to become fed up with suffering and want to give it up and give up its causes. And then we can have it for sentient beings. Then we realize we're all in the same boat. So for this reason, we're going to do these precepts this morning, to live in our vows for these 24 hours, and be delighted to do this for our own sake, but absolutely for the sake of others, in the long term especially. So with this in our hearts, let's do these few prayers. Be ready for Rinpoche. Just so you have to keep track of me for time, haven't you, Charmaine? Because I've got to be out. I'm supposed to be out of here for that other prayer, aren't I, at 7 o'clock?
Okay, Venerable.
How are we now? What time is it? Okay, we're okay, so so then we'll go through all that. Here are the prayers. Okay, so we either sit or stand. We're sitting, so we'll stay sitting. Okay. Yeah, then we'll do some prostrations later. Okay. So we think that we'll just say the words in English, and we'll say it in Tibetan 2 times, and we'll do the English the third one. Lama Sangye Lama Chodejin Lama Gedunte Kungi Jepo Lama Yin Lama Namla Kyab Suchi Lama Sangye Lama Chodejin Lama Gedunte Kungi Jepo Lama Yin Lama Namla Kyab Suchi. So the Guru is Buddha, the Guru is Dharma, the Guru is also Sangha. The Guru, what is the Guru? Guru is just heavy with qualities, is the person you or the people you have chosen, you have decided is the person who is Buddha for you. You decide. There's no inherent guru out there somewhere with a little sign on saying guru. You make them your guru, whoever it is, those teachers, those people who are heavy with qualities for you. And so for they're the Buddha. So then the guru is the creator of all happiness, meaning your relationship is the one that, you know, your devotion is what causes you to create, to achieve the path, you know. So in all these holy beings, in all the gurus, I take refuge. Next one. So now we're again repeating our refuge, and also this amazing aspiration to want to benefit others. We'll do it in English. With the thought desiring to liberate all transmigratory beings, I will always take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until the heart of enlightenment is achieved. With perseverance, acting with wisdom, compassion, and loving kindness in front of the Buddhas, for the benefit of sentient beings, I generate the thought of full enlightenment. That's bodhicitta. With the thought desiring to liberate transmigratory beings, I will always take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until the heart of enlightenment is achieved. I will rely upon, with perseverance, acting with wisdom, compassion, and loving kindness. In front of the Buddhas are for the benefit of sentient beings. I generate the bodhicitta. With the thought desiring to liberate transmigratory beings, I always take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until the heart of enlightenment is achieved. With perseverance, acting with wisdom, compassion, and loving kindness, in front of the Buddhas, for the benefit of sentient beings, I generate this thought of bodhicitta, this full enlightenment. So now we imagine the place is pure. Next. Before we invite the Buddhas, excuse me. So imagine, everywhere may the ground be pure, free of pebbles and so forth, as level as the palm of the hand, in the nature of sapphire and soft. So having pure view there, imagining. So we're going now and go and invite the Buddhas to come. So nearly clearly we have to imagine the place to be beautiful. Savior of all sentient beings, without exception, divine destroyer of the unbearable hordes of Maras and their forces, perfect knower of all things without exception, Bhagawan, together with your retinue, please come here. We'll sing in Tibetan. Malu semchen kungi gangyur ching Dude pungche mise jomse klan nyanam malu yang dag kengyur pe Chomden Korche Nedir Sheksu Sol. So now we imagine we're going to make offerings. So remembering every single tiny thought counts. We have to keep remembering that. We're not used to that thought. Every thought counts, So we just imagine now, use your creative imagination, all the offerings, as it says here in Rinpoche's houses, because he's famous for all his offerings. He's one of his nuns at Kopan. I mean, she spends 6 hours a day just doing the water bowls on every single surface, So somehow he's showing us how to be, because offerings, in order to get a human life, you need really strong non-killing karma. In order to have access to even a grain of rice in this life, you need bucket loads of generosity karma. Giving, that's the cause of receiving. So we all want that for ourselves. So don't hesitate, So anyway, and for the sake of others. So imagine now as many offerings as you can think of, the whole universe, the whole world, and all the offerings and all the altars and all the centers and all the monasteries throughout the world, all the things like the sun and the moon, everything in the universe, all the stars, everything, all the objects of the senses of the five, all the five senses, all the everything, pile it all up and imagine offering all of these to the Buddha. Ladang mi chepe tsenya su shamdang ikitul kunzang chetin lana menam ke kam kun kyab kyu chi. Filling the entire space, imagine. And now we multiply this Sanskrit mantra. We multiply this. When Rinpoche does this, he sings it with great joy and delight. Om Namo Bhagavate Vajrasara Pramadanaye Tathagataya Arahate Samyaksam Buddhaya Tayata Om Vajre Vajre Mahavajre Mahateja Vajre Mahavidya Vajre Mahabodhicitta Vajre Mahabodhi Mando Pasam Kramana Vajre Sarva Kama Avarana Vishodana Vajre Svaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vajrasara Pramadanaye Tathagataya Arahate Samyaksam Buddhaya Tayata Om Vajre Vajre Mahavajre Mahateja Vajre Mahavidya Vajre Mahabodhicitta Vajre Mahabodhi Mando Pasam Kramana Vajre Sarva Kama Avarana Vishodana Vajre Svaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vajrasara Pramadanaye Tathagataya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tayata Om Vajre Vajre Mahavajre Mahateja Vajre Mahavidya Vajre Mahabodhicitta Vajre Mahabodhi Mandopasam Kramana Vajre Sawakama Avarana Vishodhana Vajre Svaha. And now this prayer, this aspiration, this power of truth, the truth of emptiness. By the power of truth of the three rare sublime ones, the blessings of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the great wealth of the completed two types of merits, and the pure and inconceivable sphere of phenomena, may these piles of clouds of offerings arising through transformation by the Bodhisattvas, Arya, Samantabhadra, Manjushri, and so forth. Samantabhadra is famous for all his offerings. He always gets mentioned. Arise, and in the presence of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, be received. Lama Zopa Rinpoche says in Tantra, the very meaning of the word to offer, chur in Tibetan, puja, is you actually to visualize the recipients, and in this case the Buddhas, experiencing the joy of receiving the offerings. So as it says there, be received. And now we do the Semanim prayer. Gosum kupe gone chagselo nyasham yitro shachin malubul togmene sagdiktung tamche shag kepagewa namla jairang korwa matong bardu legjugne ndrola cheki kolo korwadang Dagjen genam jang chub chen pornyo. So now, another offering. Again, the same thing to visualize this ground. Imagine it. Say the words. Imagine it, but imagine as vast as space, as many as you possibly can. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I mean, that's Buddhist cosmology. So we think of all the marvelous things that we know in our world. And we imagine all of this as a Buddha field and we offer it. And may all suffering beings enjoy this pure land. So this prayer, next one, is, I think it's from Vajrayogini practice. And Lama Yeshe always would have us do this. They call it Ina Mandala. Because you see the word, you're offering. Look, offering. We're going to offer to the Buddha the objects of my attachment, anger and ignorance, all the friends, enemies, strangers, all my body, all my enjoyments, everything. We're going to pile all up, hand it over to the Buddha. He can handle it. Without any sense of loss, I offer them. Please kindly accept them, and please bless me to pacify the 3 poisons, the 3 toxic emotions, ignorance, attachment and aversion, independence on their own objects. And now we again imagine Buddha receiving. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryata Yami. Okay, now, so wait, now we stop. Now what time is it? How are we going? 6 o'clock. Okay. How long is the ceremony? It's about do we know how long the ceremony is? I think Mary had it on the website. Do you know? Huh?
38 minutes.
Oh, 40 minutes. So we've got time. We've got lots of time. Oh, good. Okay. 6:05. So that's 6:40. Okay. So, okay. Well, I should be giving teachings about bodhicitta, and we all should be crying with compassion, but I don't know how to do that. I have to read a book. I don't know how to talk about compassion. I'll run out of words.
What? I think you have to start your prayers at 7, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm fine. I've got my session at 7. I'm okay. We're doing this 24-hour session for the COVID people. Well, I mean, maybe it's good you ask some questions. I think it's important. Don't just jump into these kind of things, especially if you haven't met Rinpoche before. So do you have any questions about the precepts, about Rinpoche, about what you're doing? Do you have any questions? Please, we've got time. If you don't have any questions, then I'm going to have to say some words, or we can go back to sleep and come back in 30 minutes. I'm joking. We can finish early. Are there no questions? Are you clear what you're doing, people? Good. I will then presume that silence is yes. Okay. Okay. Well, I think we should then, if we were, okay. So we all stand up, and then when we put Rinpoche on the screen, and then we do 3 prostrations, and then we do what Rinpoche tells us to do. We're going to be on our knees for quite a bit, so have a nice comfy cushion. Okay. I think we've done everything. I think so, yes. So we prostrate now. We'll just sit normally until Rinpoche tells us what to do. We'll do what he tells us to do. Okay. Off we go. No volume. Maybe he hasn't speaking yet. Okay. You need your prayers. You need your prayer. So stop for a second. Stop for a second. Has everybody got their prayers? You got to repeat after Rinpoche, but it's easy if you have it in front of you to read it, just to make sure. Get your prayers. We're going to do this. Just basically, we're going to recite 3 times this the prayer, and we can see. But it's good if you have it, even though we're going to repeat after Rinpoche. Everyone, get it ready. I've got to get mine ready. I'm sorry. Sorry, we weren't already. Okay, go. Ready?
So that's why it involves avoiding black food. The main emphasis is the keeping the body clean, you see, so that mind become say, without obstacles, see, clear for meditation. So that's why avoiding black food in the that's there's outer yoga, so that's what it is. So why the Eight Mahayana Precepts, the party most advanced doesn't involve that, but this Eight Mahayana Precepts, why it's involved avoiding black food is because where it came from is a Kirtan. So that I think the Lama Shakyam then you think that also the but of the sapas around that. Should be
Oh, stop. Can you stop, please? Can you stop? We need to. Rinpoche's going to. I didn't know this. Rinpoche's going to do it in Tibetan, so you just have to do your best. Or if you want to, because this is how it is. You repeat after the Lama, you know. So he's doing it in Tibetan. So the words are here, I think. Have you got the Tibetan words? Everybody, yes. You have to do your best, okay? You just have to do your best. And if you can't understand, don't worry. We can talk about it afterwards. Just do your best to follow what Rinpoche is saying. And then the English words are right there. We can follow those as well. Okay, sorry. Please forgive me. We should be on our knee. We should be on our knee. We should be kneeling on our right knee. With your hands in the prayer mudra. Okay.
English first, yeah. All Buddhas.
Oh, okay. Good. All Buddhas. Repeat.
Please pay attention to me.
Oh, here we go. Look, it's in their thing. Please pay attention to me.
So if there's a Lama dead, then that is not in English here. In the Tibetan, but it's not in English. It's not written in English. It is Lama giving the after the Lopan also the Lopan the lead guide of the disciple. As a preceptor or the guide for disciple, leading the path to liberation. See, asking to pay attention. So Lopan conscious. Which English is just as previous perfectly completed Buddhas, like the divine wise horse,
the divine wise horse.
did what had to be done.
And the great elephant did what had to be done.
Lay down the burden.
Formed actions, laid down the burden, subsequently attained their own welfare, completely exhausted the fetters of existence.
Perfect speech.
Perfect speech.
Liberated mind.
For liberated minds.
For the welfare of all sentient beings.
For the welfare of all sentient beings.
Liberate.
In order to liberate. In order to eliminate famine.
War. In order to stop the harm of the
in order to stop the harm of the 4 elements.
The words was not in the original prayer, but that was very good to mention. To edit, there's so much work happening. So this is taking Eight Mahayana Precepts antidote to that. In order to stop. 4 elements.
4 elements.
So that's let's say edit. And particularly in California, in the United States, there's so much fire. In 1 year, happening so many times fire. And in particular California area, that's one place. And also it happens in Australia, but I think a little bit less than United States. So it's to help them. So we extend, the purpose we're taking in my process, okay? So I think it's very, very good.
So basically, Rinpoche is adding extra to say the extra one in order to eliminate war and in order to stop the harm of the 4 elements. That's what Rinpoche is saying. He's adding that. It's not in the original prayer, but you'll see it in this translation in our book. Go on.
Because to the good heart, doesn't the government asking to pay money for that? In order to eliminate sicknesses.
In order to eliminate sickness.
In order to fully complete.
The 37 practices. Harmonious with enlightenment.
And in order to definitely
actualize and unsurpassed, result of perfect, complete enlightenment.
Performed. The rest and purify. Similarly also,
I am called Tupten Kunsel.
This time in the sun.
Sunrise tomorrow.
For the welfare of all sentient beings.
For the welfare of all sentient beings.
In order to liberate.
In order to liberate. In order to eliminate famine.
War. In order to stop the harms of 4 elements.
4 elements. In order to stop the harm of the 4 elements. In order to eliminate sickness.
In order to fully complete the 37 practices.
In order to complete the 37 practices harmonious with enlightenment.
And in order to
definitely actualize the unsurpassed result.
Definitely actualize the unsurpassed result.
Unsurpassed result of perfect and complete enlightenment.
Shall perfectly undertake.
And
purify ordination.
The restoring and purifying ordination.
All the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas dwell in the 10 directions.
2 more times. This is the 2nd time. Please pay attention to me.
Just as
Pay attention to them. Just as the Tathagatas, the foe destroyers, the perfectly completed Buddhas, divine white horse, and the great elephant had to be done, performed actions, and laid down the burden, subsequently attained their own welfare, completely exhausted, the fetters to existence, and had perfect speech, and well-liberated minds, and well-liberated wisdom, the welfare of all sentient beings, in order to benefit, in order to eliminate famine, in order to stop the harm of the four elements,
eliminate sickness,
eliminate sickness,
complete the 37 practices,
to complete the 37 practices, harmonious with enlightenment,
and in order to definitely exercise
unsurpassed,
perfect,
result of perfect, complete enlightenment, perfectly performed.
Similarly, also I who am
I'm called Sultan Kunsel.
from this time until
Until sunrise tomorrow.
all sentient beings.
For all sentient beings. In order to benefit.
Eliminate
In order to eliminate famine. In order to eliminate war. In order to stop the harm of the elements.
eliminate sins.
In order to eliminate sickness. In order to complete the 37 practices harmonious with enlightenment.
And in order to definitely actualize the unsurpassed result.
Definitely actualize the unsurpassed result.
A perfect, complete
Enlightenment.
shall perfectly undertake.
Perfectly undertake.
Purifying
ordination.
The third time you practice. Georgiana should be.
Da Jompa, Yan Japa, Zope Sangye. Nampo Temple.
Sebara Kundu Jawa, Leba,
Doorway do.
Number 2 Key, Tam Teji,
Semshinka.
Lana Maba,
Zope Jangchu.
never talk about Chavia Chidang, Chisa, Sojong, Yangda, Yangdo,
God took the cushion.
Tim, this is Jiwa, Dine Sunday,
GC Sang. Badu.
So generally depends on it's just interest sunrises. So it depends on how you think. Sunrises, so it means a light, and into light comes at your place. Until light comes at your place. You see, that's what. Or sunrise. There's no light at your place, not complete light, but sun rising in the world. See, in the world, see, maybe in the country. Even there's no light at your place, but the the morning already started from east, all the stars, brightness of stars gone. So then that's the beginning of the morning. Very beginning of the morning when the brightness of stars gone. Then from the eastern side, there's a little bit whitish. from at the eastern side, you see, and if you look at the sky, there's a little bit white. That's the very beginning of the morning. So if you think like Nyungnes or like that, when you do a Chinese routine, Nyungne, so if you think that sun rising, if you define like that, you see, that the very beginning of the day is next. It's already next day. So if you think that way, then you can have, so you can have food, drink, you see, that. So that, so depends how you think, you see, or having light at your place. So that. Illness. So if you think that way, then you can have to drink, say, earlier. Then the food earlier, you see, rather than many hours later. Just so that people, it helps the people, I say, to not get too much. So if it's easier, then the people they get inspired to do again in the future. So that's kind of as a group like that. But if you're something, so but if you're leading group, so to help the people to not be contributed, also that they will unite again. So that. The great Bodhisattva or the yogi Lama who founded the monastery down below Lao. So when he does Yungne, 3 o'clock, everybody has to get up 3 o'clock in the morning, and then he stands outside, even though all aspect, but it stands outside, the gomba. When the monks not come in, then he give brown sugar, big brown sugar cut in pieces with water. They give in the hand of each person, and they have to eat that. All the stomach, I said they didn't have food for yesterday. No water, no food. You see. So the which gives like that. They said, and they said sometimes the vomit after with the food. I said, then they serve tea and tupa, at 3 o'clock. But the Rinpoche said, so that it makes people find it easier, so they will many units. So according to that, this is according to Kaiser Rinpoche. But of course, at 3 o'clock doesn't start. I think I noticed at around 4 starts the white, from the east. Or the brightness starts gone at the 4 after 4. See, the Rinpoche, that's according to Rinpoche's his own, see, technique. So that. So I don't know where I stopped. Sanyingbo. Sanying Mamashi. Today, Songe, Chiseso about Masabachi, Sanima Mashapa, Yanima, Masaji Pado, Semjan Tamje, Tongi Chidang, Pemba Chave Chita, Chave Chita, okay, Meva Chave Chita, Meva Chave Chita, Chanam, Chave Chita, Meva, Yandava, Lobe, Yandava, Then I said, Tab, then you say Lexo, okay? This method, you are respond to the Lexo, yes. Tawa, you know, is a Lexo. So I think you receive the Eight Mahayana Precepts.
Feel that you receive the vows, Rinpoche is saying. Feel like they say that vows are a subtle physical form visible to clairvoyance. So you feel like you receive these from Rinpoche, from the Lama he received them from the Lama he received them from, right back to the Buddha, this power source. We feel this confidence. We receive the blessing and the power of these vows from Rinpoche, all the way back to the Buddha.
Must have strong determination. I have received the precepts. The reviving, purifying the ordination is my precepts. Okay. Just as the food destroys the past habit, all the misconduct, what is peace in mind?
What is peace in mind?
Others.
That's a state in the lives of others. So shall I, for the sake of all beings, standing for one day, these wrong actions,
Devote myself,
hurt myself,
pure practice of
training.
just as the food destroys the past habit. I think abandon all the misconduct. It says, such a message. It means from now on, I want to. This one day say, from now on, I want to killing soldiers, killing. So in the English, it says just as the food destroys, so the past have abandoned all the misconduct. So it doesn't. So someone doesn't follow the Tibetan. From now on, I want to kill him. Changing the languages, I want to take the possession, also the possessions of others. I want to also sexually act. So this is the here at my perspective, any sexual act. I want to tell even also the lie. So that's so the English, but since English here totally very different. So then after that, not finish. Comes the the Tibetan, the traditional Tibetan comes now only now here. From now on, I shall not kill still at this position. So it's kind of a. So I don't know what the other part comes English. So Gyune Mangbo Nye Tenbe. Yongso Pangwa Cha. I will abandon the tongue, the alcohol completely. See, where many mistake arises. Today and Cheto Mechashin. Cheto Michashin. So then I want to sit on the throne, large, high, say all that, so the yeah, like that. Then the so do not get pride or things. This is expensive. You see, like tiger skin or some tiger skin, leopard skin or 80 skin or I'm joking, 80 skin. So to the teaching to my say, so to not eat the food in the wrong time. So this sun, one what this so say clockwise after 12 o'clock, right? After 12 o'clock, but the sun is what at what
Midday.
midday, 1 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, he was
Uh,
at 1:15.
Sun by sun, the 1:50. Okay. So so that's the noon time. But by come the sun is that. So it depends on what you follow the clock, what you follow. You see. So by following the sun, so we follow the sun. So we're going to follow the sun, right? We're going to follow the sun. So this noon is that. Not eating afternoon. That's what you see. The point is that before that we can eat anytime. 대신 또 많이 비세. 지단 청와简单네. 청와简单네. 가당으로서 방와 차. Scent smell. 청와's malas, the ornaments. Not something that what you usually have. You see, the practice. But you see something not for Dharma, but something to the attachment, you see. They come to that. Dance, sing songs. Yeah. But when you do practice, practice, chanting that's for Dharma, you see, the motivation is different to singing a song. Normal, generally speaking, you see. So by motivation different. 그래서 다좀 딱도 네 제대로 더 show. The others always they do not engage, you see, killing and so forth. Also also abandon the killings. Coolly enlightenment. Dungal Mangru Jiteng show. So yeah, they were there's living beings, who be liberated, from it's all oceans of samsara, which is this this world can be place or can be the chicken, or, depending on the change, the depending on the change. Change refers to the aggregates. Depending on the change. Change refers to aggregates. Aggregate nature change. And this is one among two the sufferings. No, say. Like the cyclone, you see, like the cyclone, so much suffering. Okay, so now, the mantra, reviving and purifying, making them, making the person pure. So this is one of the methods to be able to, if you're living even but lay life living in the 5 levels or 4, 3 to whatever number of precepts you're living. The advanced precept of the Mashavas that's taken until death. So to be absolutely pure, it helps if you recite this. When the people who are living ordination,
You can sit down now. You can do them. Sit down now, people.
this mantra, reciting this mantra is one help to be able to live pure and devout. Makes morality pure. That so in the morning, if you did prostration and by reciting Buddhas, then at the end you can kneel down and you can recite this, 21 times or 7 times, whatever. Oma Gajela Sambara Bara Mahashuda Sadra Vijatara Adara Gajela Sambara Bara Mahashuda Vijatara Samana
Avalokite, Humke, Naha,
Gajela Bara Mahashuda
Ashuda,
Vivekete Vijatara
Samanta, Avalokite, Humpe, Swaha.
Okay, so now two together. Oma Magajila Sambara Bara Bara
Mahashuda Sato Pema Bebokite, Puchadara Dara Samanta, Avalokite, Humpe, Swaha. Oma Magashila Sambara Bara Bara, Mahashuda Sato Pema Bebokite, Puchadara Dara Samanta, Avalokite, Humpe, Swaha. Oma Mogashila Sambara Bara Bara, Mahashuda Sato Pema Bebokite. Uttadara Samanta Avalokite Humpe Swaha. Oma Magashila Sambara Bara Bara Mahashuda Sato Pema Bebokite. Uttadara Samanta Avalokite Humpe Swaha. Oma Magashila Sambara Bara Bara Mahashuda Sato Pema Bebokite. Uttadara Samanta Avalokite Humpe Swaha. Oma Mugashila Sambara Bara Bara Mahashuda Sato Pema Bebokite. Uttadara Dara Samanta Avalokite Humpe Swaha. Oma Mogashila Sambara Bara Bara Mahashuda Sato Pema Bebokite. Uttadara Samanta Avalokite Humpe Swaha. Oma Mogashila Sambara Bara Bara Mahashuda Sato Pema Bebokite. Uttadara Dara Samanta Avalokite Humpe Swaha. Sambara bara bara Mahashuda Sato Pema Bebokite. Uttadara Samanta Avalokite Humpe Swaha.
Ama baby get that Amangajela Sambara Bara Bara Majuda Bama baby get Samara Lugero on Basso Amangajela Sambara Bara Bara Majuda Bama baby get that Samara Lugero on Basso Amangajela Sambara Bara Bara Majuda Bama Bajana Samara Lugero on Basso. Chapter 21 finish.
Stop it for a second. Stop
For
it.
more.
Well, you can see the way they say mantras, it's always taught that you say it the way your Lama says it. So over the centuries, the Tibetans have developed their own pronunciation of Sanskrit. And so as we can see, the syllables where it says, we go Om Amogashila, Sambara Bara Bara, Mahashuddha Sato, Sato Pema Bibukite. Sato Pema Bibukite. That's how Rinpoche says it. Sato Pema Bibukite. And then Butsa Dara Dara Samanta Awalokite Hung Pe Soha. Sato Pema Bibukite. That's the way the Lama say it. So you repeat like that, if you want. Okay, thanks.
I must have, my finger went very fast. Oma Mongajila Sambara Bara Bara Mashuda Sada Bama Baby Gede Buja Dara Dara Awalugada Ombeso Oma Mongajila Sambara Bara Bara Mashuda Sada Bama Baby Gede Buja Dara Dara Awalugada Ombeso Oma Mongajila Sambara Bara Mashuda Sada Bama Baby Gede Buja Dara Dara Awalugada Ombeso Amangajela Sambara Bara Bara Majuda Bama Bajandara Dara Samada. Did you all the past Bishop made it correct by 3 times, made it correct by others, number the same thing with same Buddhas. May I able to complete the parameter of morality by keeping it let's say, without mistake, pure and without pride. Maybe
that's the last prayer down there. Prayer to keep pure morality. May I maintain faultless morality of the rules and immaculate morality. May the perfection of moral conduct be completed by keeping morality purely and untainted by pride.
In the heart, all the something was allowed to live second. It knows how to, it knows how Buddha Chitta Jana may have increased. Changjo, Simjo, Rinpoche, Ma,
Long life prayer for His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Tony Ninja Sungzo Jubela Chechere Sanja Kangjan Tentroga Chana Bemo Tenjen Jazola Shede Rundro Did all the past present may all the father, mother, did all 3 times may correct ones of others. May all the father, mother, sentiments have happiness. May the 3 law realm be empty forever. May all the Buddha's prayers be succeed immediately. Pama Semja Damja Detang Tenju Jinindo Damja Tato Tonwa Chanjo Samba Kana Sushu Hata Kunji Mala and Druju. 3 times, did you 3 times made is correct, 3 times made is correct, number of something the Buddhas, that which do not exist, the much side, which is totally empty. May the I who exist but do not exist, much side, which is totally empty. achieve Guru Shakyamuni Buddha's enlightenment, which exists but do not exist from a society which is totally empty. Lead all the sentient beings who exist but do not exist from their own side, who are totally empty. To that Guru Shakyamuni Buddha's enlightenment, which exists but do not exist from the society, who is totally empty. Brahma alone, who exists but who do not exist from the society, who is totally empty.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay. So everybody, we just feel happy we've taken the vows. That prayer Rinpoche said, so Rinpoche said that one, we didn't say all the words after him, the commitment prayer to keep the precepts, we said, from now on I'll not kill, steal others' possessions, engage in sexual activity, or speak false words. I shall avoid intoxicants from which many mistakes arise. I'll not sit on large high beds, as Rinpoche said, for pride. I'll not eat food at the wrong time. So you've made that decision, It's once or twice. Have you discussed that, Charmaine, with people? Did they know earlier?
No, it would be good to discuss now if it's okay, Venerable Robina.
A bit late, we've taken them, so we have to decide if you're supposed to decide. The wrong times means you can eat twice. You can eat morning and lunch, or you can eat one meal, so you decide. Maybe you should have decided that earlier. Sorry, I didn't say it. But you don't eat after, as Rinpoche said, in the sky. They were saying it was 1:15 there. You go by the sun, or you go by the clock. So easy to go by the clock, I'd say. So by noon you should have finished your food. And also that this type of vow, it's kind of to do with keeping the senses completely subdued. That's why you don't eat garlic, onions, and meat, all this business, So you can eat twice. And if you do eat, strictly speaking, it doesn't say it here, but the Lamas teach that, you should sit in the one, basically sit, and you shouldn't have more than 10 minutes between mouthfuls. So you can't say it's one meal and eat all day and never have more than 10 minutes. You just have to have one sitting and have a meal, So you can have two meals, you can have one meal, you can start it now, or you can have two. It's up to you to decide if you want. Then afternoon, nothing that's heavy, it's only liquid, in other words, liquid afternoon, that's it. That's the wrong time. And I'll avoid singing, dancing, and playing music. So, don't wear perfumes or garlands or ornaments. I mean, as Rinpoche said, things you wouldn't normally, like jewelry, things like that. So are there any questions, people? Confusions, clarities? Nothing? Clear?
I have a question, Venerable Robina.
Yeah, one.
So when we were at Light of the Path, I thought that the instruction was that you had to take your first mouthful of food before noon, not complete the meal before noon.
You must complete the last. No, I'm quite sure that I've always heard it absolutely by the noon finished food. I've never heard it that way. That's interesting. I've never heard it that way. I think that's what I've understood. So if I'm wrong, that's always how I've understood it. You must finish by noon. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, people? But it's always the difficult one is always the food for us. We never ask questions about what's a lie and what's not a lie and how high is the bed, but it's always the food one. And half the time we don't take the precepts because we can't stand the thought of not eating, We're so attached to our dinner, which makes sense. Any other questions? Yes.
Venerable Rabina, could you please mention how if we actually make a mistake, how we can use the mantra pure morality?
You say that mantra, the Oh My Gosh, you love one. You just say it, and you just fix it. It purifies. That mantra purifies. So if you speak a lie, or if you suddenly find yourself eating a steak at 2 PM, suddenly forget, you stop eating and then you'd say the mantra, okay? Or you suddenly drink a beer with somebody you forgot. Or you hopped into bed with your hubby because you're so excited, you forgot. You better hop out and say the mantra, okay? That's all. Okay, darling people. So happy to see you all.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah, go on, talk to me.
Is it okay to sing mantras?
Yeah, it's meant to be not attachment. That's obvious, isn't it? Singing in the is not the problem. It's attachment. The whole point of these vows is to do attachment.
Okay, thank
Throughout
you.
the senses. That's the point. So sing mantras as much as you like. And if you get bliss out of it, then that's extra bonus. I'm so happy. Okay. Thank you, people. All right, darling.